The age of the drone is ending.
The age of the autonomous killer is beginning. We are building weapon systems capable of identifying targets, calculating threats, and executing lethal force without human consent, without human oversight, without a human in the loop. They're called laws, lethal autonomous weapon systems. And they're already here. The IAI Harop can conduct surveillance, identify targets emitting radar, and carry out attacks, all without requiring exact prior intelligence or human approval for each strike. Recent conflicts in Ukraine and between Israel and Palestinian groups demonstrate that autonomous systems now cause a substantial proportion of combat damage. In December 2024, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution on lethal autonomous weapons with overwhelming support. 166 votes in favor, 3 opposed, 15 abstentions. The resolution mentions potential prohibition of some laws while regulating others. But here's the problem that keeps military ethicists awake at night. When an autonomous weapon makes a mistake, when it kills the wrong person, who is responsible? The scientist who wrote the code? The soldier who pressed deploy? Or the moral agent we never intended to create? This is the story of how we automated war, and why we can't automate responsibility. Before we judge, we need to understand. Why would anyone build this? The answer is simple. War kills soldiers, and nations want to protect their soldiers. In Iraq and Afghanistan, the United States lost nearly 7,000 service members over 2 decades. Russia has lost tens of thousands in Ukraine. Every military planner asks the same question. How do we achieve our objectives while minimizing casualties to our own forces? Throughout history, the answer has been technology. Rifles extended killing range. Artillery removed soldiers from direct combat. Aircraft attacked from the sky. Drones eliminated the need for pilots in danger zones. Autonomous weapons are the next step. Humans react in milliseconds. AI processes in microseconds, thousands of times faster. In high-speed warfare, missile defense, drone swarms, cyber-physical attacks, human reaction time isn't fast enough. Russia's Putin stated that when one party's drones are destroyed by drones of another, it will have no other choice but to surrender, highlighting how autonomous systems represent an increasing portion of military forces. The tactical case for laws is compelling. Speed. Autonomous systems react faster than human operators. Endurance. No fatigue, no sleep, continuous operation. Risk reduction. 0 friendly casualties for the deploying nation. Precision. Potentially more accurate than human-guided weapons. Cost. Eventually cheaper than training and deploying human soldiers. The US government white paper, Humanitarian Benefits of Emerging Technologies in the Area of Lethal Autonomous Weapons, notes that automated target identification, tracking, selection, and engagement functions can allow weapons to strike military objectives more accurately and with less risk of collateral damage. The promise is perfect soldiers. No hesitation, no trauma, no body bags returning home. Just clean, efficient, algorithmic war. But there's a problem so fundamental that it threatens the entire moral architecture of warfare. For thousands of years, war has had one constant: a human making the decision to kill. That human might be a soldier pulling a trigger, a pilot releasing a bomb, a commander ordering an artillery strike. But somewhere in the chain of events leading to death, a human being made a choice. And that human carried the moral weight of that choice. This is called moral agency, the capacity to make ethical decisions and be held accountable for their consequences. Moral agency requires three things: understanding the situation, freedom to choose, accountability for the outcome. When a soldier fires on a target, they understand the context. They choose to pull the trigger or not. And if they're wrong, if they kill a civilian, they can be held accountable, court-martialed, prosecuted for war crimes, haunted by guilt. But what happens when you remove the human from that decision? An algorithm doesn't understand the situation. It processes data according to its programming. It doesn't choose in any meaningful sense. It executes probabilistic calculations, and it cannot be held accountable. Philosopher Robert Sparrow terms this phenomenon responsibility gaps, situations where harms occur without identifiable moral agents. When an autonomous weapon kills the wrong person, responsibility falls into a void. The programmer didn't choose the specific target. The commander didn't select that individual. The machine isn't a moral agent capable of guilt or punishment. International humanitarian law assumes human judgment as the locus of responsibility, with Article 36 of Additional Protocol 1 to the Geneva Conventions implicitly presuming human oversight in weapons deployment. The doctrine of mens rea, guilty mind, in war crimes jurisprudence requires conscious intent. Autonomous weapons dissolve these foundations. They create a new category of killing: algorithmic death. No one's fault, no one's responsibility, just an outcome. And this is where things get truly dangerous. Here's what makes this worse. Even when humans are supposedly in the loop, autonomy changes how they think. It's called automation bias. The tendency to trust automated systems over your own judgment, even when the system is wrong. You've experienced this. When your GPS says, turn right, you turn right, even if it looks wrong. When your phone's autocorrect changes a word, you often don't notice. Now imagine you're a drone operator. The AI highlights a target. Threat assessment: 87% probability enemy combatant. Engagement recommended. Do you question it? You're under time pressure. The target might flee. The AI has processed thousands of data points you can't see. It's been right dozens of times before. So you approve. And it's wrong. The enemy combatant was a farmer carrying farming tools that the AI misidentified as weapons. Who is responsible? You approved the strike. But you were operating under what researchers call technological mediation. The system shaped your perception of reality. Studies show that operators monitoring autonomous systems detect errors 30 to 50% slower than without automation. Trust system recommendations even when contradictory evidence exists. Experience reduced sense of personal responsibility for outcomes. The more autonomous the system, the less moral agency the human operator retains. At one end, human in the loop, human makes final decision. Middle, human on the loop. Human can override, but usually doesn't. Far end, human out of the loop. System operates independently. As you move right on that spectrum, moral responsibility doesn't transfer to the machine, it just evaporates. But even if we could solve the responsibility problem, there's another issue. can AI actually follow the laws of war? International humanitarian law requires the principle of distinction, the ability to discriminate combatants from non-combatants, and the principle of proportionality. In theory, this should be simple. Soldier with weapon equals combatant. Civilian equals non-combatant. In practice, it's impossibly complex. Is a farmer with a rifle a combatant? Is a combatant who's surrendering still a valid target? Is a medic treating soldiers a legitimate target? Is a civilian driving supplies to soldiers participating in combat? Humans struggle with these distinctions, but humans can interpret context. A soldier can see fear in someone's eyes, recognize a white flag, understand that the person running away isn't a threat. Stuart Russell, professor of computer science at UC Berkeley, states his concern with laws is that it is unethical and inhumane because the main issue with this system is it is hard to distinguish between combatants and non-combatants. AI-based tools currently used to inform military targeting decisions present similar issues. Problems with data accuracy, misidentification, bias, and specificity. Computer vision systems trained on military databases might identify a person with a phone as holding a detonator, a shepherd's staff as a weapon, children playing as a hostile patrol. Unequal rates of misidentification are particularly grave when involving autonomous weapons. Groups already vulnerable to misidentification may bear disparate risk of error, with even more serious consequences. Facial recognition systems are less accurate for people of color, error rates 10 to 100 times higher. Women, children, elderly individuals. International law professor Thompson Chengeta highlights that autonomous weapons are likely to be used in the context of law enforcement and counterterrorism in situations where it is often the rights of people of color and civilians in Muslim communities that are violated. The people most likely to be killed by algorithmic error are the people algorithms already fail to recognize properly. And then there's proportionality. International law requires that laws must be capable of canceling or suspending an attack if it becomes evident that the target is not legitimate or the attack would be disproportionate. How do you program proportionality? Acceptable civilian casualties isn't a number you can code into an algorithm. It's a moral judgment that depends on context, culture, values. An AI can calculate probabilities, but it cannot weigh the moral worth of achieving a military objective against the moral cost of civilian deaths. Because that's not a calculation, it's a choice. And choices require moral agents. So let's say the worst happens. An autonomous weapon system misidentifies a target and kills innocent civilians. A wedding party mistaken for a terrorist gathering. A school bus identified as a military transport. Who goes on trial? There are three potential parties: the developers who created the system, the military officers who deployed it, the machine itself. Option 1. The programmer. The defense argues, my client wrote code according to specifications. The system was tested and passed all requirements. We could not predict every possible real-world scenario. Modern AI systems contain millions of lines of code. They're trained on vast datasets. They develop emergent behaviors their creators never programmed. How do you prove a programmer is criminally responsible for their algorithm misidentifying a target in a specific context they never tested? When an autonomous drone misidentifies a civilian convoy due to algorithmic bias or sensor failure, accountability fractures across the chain of development and deployment. Programmers cannot anticipate all operational contexts. Current legal frameworks aren't designed for this. Software liability laws apply to consumer products. not weapons of war. Option 2. The commander. The prosecution argues, you deployed the system. You authorized its use in a civilian area. You are responsible for its actions. The defense responds, I followed proper authorization procedures. The system was certified by defense officials. I trusted the technological assessment, automation bias. The U.S. Department of Defense Directive 3000.09, updated January 2023, states that weapons systems must allow commanders and operators to exercise appropriate levels of human judgment over the use of force. But what does appropriate level mean? If the commander must verify every autonomous decision, the system isn't really autonomous. But if the commander doesn't verify, how are they exercising judgment? Option 3. The machine. This is absurd. Machines aren't moral agents. They can't be prosecuted. They can't feel guilt. They can't be deterred by punishment. And yet, if the machine made the decision independently, if humans couldn't predict or prevent the error, isn't the machine functionally responsible? Autonomous systems dissolve the foundations of war crimes jurisprudence by introducing systems that process data without contextual moral comprehension. The result? No one is held accountable. The programmer is too removed from the specific incident. The commander didn't make the specific targeting decision. The machine isn't a legal person. Justice requires someone to answer for the deaths. But autonomous weapons create deaths with no one to answer. The international community knows this is a problem. Since 2014, states have participated in discussions of laws under the UN Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, with a group of governmental experts examining technological, military, ethical, and legal dimensions. Approximately 30 countries and 165 non-governmental organizations have called for a preemptive ban on laws due to ethical concerns about operational risk, accountability, and compliance with distinction and proportionality requirements. The Stop Killer Robots campaign argues a categorical ban is the only way to prevent ethical and humanitarian risks. The U.S. Department of Defense rejects the idea of a ban, opting for a governance framework rooted in its 2020 Ethical Principles for Artificial Intelligence, emphasizing responsible, traceable, and governable AI development. The RE-AIM Summit, Responsible AI in the Military Domain, brings together states, civil society, and industry to build shared norms, with its 2023 call to action urging states to develop governance frameworks preventing autonomous systems from operating without adequate oversight. But here's the problem with international regulations. If one nation develops laws, others feel compelled to follow. Senior U.S. military leaders have stated that the United States may be compelled to develop laws if competitors choose to do so. A November 2019 report to Congress identified Russia and China as utilizing various forms of AI to advance national agendas. No nation wants to be technologically outmatched, and once the technology exists, it proliferates. State actors share or sell systems. Non-state actors acquire them through theft or black markets. Terrorist organizations could eventually deploy autonomous weapons. We're not just automating war between professional militaries. We're democratizing the ability to conduct automated killings. But there's one more consequence we need to discuss, one that might be the most dangerous of all. Throughout history, killing in war required physical proximity. You looked at the person you were killing. Studies show this is psychologically devastating. Soldiers suffer PTSD, Moral injury, guilt. Drone warfare already created distance. Operators strike from thousands of miles away, viewing targets through screens. Research shows that propensity for moral injury increases as warriors develop a more intimate knowledge of targets. Combat roles like snipers or drone operators who perform long-endurance observation before lethal action create connections that can lead to moral injury. But that very distance also makes killing easier. Autonomous weapons take this further. You don't watch the target for hours. You don't see their face. You don't pull the trigger. You just review statistical outcomes after the fact. Targets neutralized, 12. Collateral damage, minimal. The target becomes a data point. The killing becomes a metric. Intentional development of autonomous systems offers the potential to break psychological links, leading to moral injury, by removing human warriors from intimate knowledge of targets. Some military ethicists argue this is a feature, not a bug. Less trauma for soldiers. But others warn, that trauma, that moral weight, is what keeps us human. When killing requires no human decision, no human witnessing, no human moral struggle, war becomes easier to wage. The psychological barriers that traditionally constrain violence, empathy, guilt, horror, no longer apply. If killing is painless for the attacker, what stops escalation? If there are no body bags returning home, what limits public tolerance for war? If collateral damage is just an algorithm's statistical error, who demands accountability? Autonomous weapons don't just change how we fight. They change whether we fight, and how often. Let's be clear about what we're discussing. This isn't abstract philosophy. Recent conflicts demonstrate that autonomous systems now cause substantial proportions of combat damage, including civilian casualties. People are dying, right now, from decisions made by algorithms. Autonomous weapon systems would face serious difficulties meeting human rights requirements. They cannot identify subtle cues of human behavior to interpret necessity of attack, lack human judgment to weigh proportionality, and cannot communicate effectively to ensure lethal force is last option. Somewhere, a family is mourning someone killed by a weapon that never understood what it was killing. An algorithm calculated probabilities, a machine executed commands, and a person died. No one made a choice to kill that specific individual, but they're dead nonetheless. So who is responsible? After everything we've explored, the answer is no one and everyone. The programmers bear some responsibility for creating systems capable of lethal error. The commanders bear some responsibility for deploying those systems in complex environments. The policymakers bear some responsibility for allowing this technology to exist without adequate safeguards. But when responsibility is distributed, it becomes diluted. When everyone is a little bit responsible, no one is fully accountable. AWS lack ethical legitimacy because they dissolve the link between moral agency and lethal outcomes, introducing systems that process data without contextual moral comprehension and fracturing accountability across development and deployment chains. For thousands of years, war had a moral architecture. Humans made decisions. Humans carried the weight of those decisions. Humans could be held accountable. Autonomous weapons shatter that architecture. They create a new kind of killing. Algorithmic, distributed, unaccountable. The December 2024 UN resolution mentions potential for a two-tiered approach, prohibits some laws while regulating others under international law. The question before us is whether we'll ban this technology before it becomes ubiquitous, or whether we'll normalize algorithmic killing and accept the moral void it creates. Because once this technology proliferates, once every military has autonomous weapons, there's no putting it back. The age of the autonomous killer has begun, but the age of moral accountability might be ending. The question isn't whether machines can kill. They already can. The question is whether we can live in a world where no one is responsible for the deaths they cause. I don't have an answer, but I know this. When the AI war machine kills, and it will, we need to know who answers for it. Before we build these weapons, we need to build the accountability. Or we risk creating a future where killing is easy and justice is impossible. This is Cosmic Canvas, where we trace the outline of a moral agent and sometimes find no one there. Until next time, stay human, stay haunted, and remember, accountability cannot be automated. Responsibility cannot be offloaded. Not if we want to remain ourselves.